In this video, we'll be taking a look at 3 college football games happening on September 28, 2023, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games. So 2 picks for each game, 6 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 3 college football games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start. If you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Temple versus Tulsa. The non-conference games are mostly over, and now conference games begin in the American Athletic Conference as the Tulsa Golden Hurricane host the Temple Owls. Both of these come in with records of 2-2. Tulsa has won the last 2 meetings, including a 27-16 win last season, but Temple covered as a 14-point underdog. Temple gave up 543 yards to Miami while just managing 279 themselves. E.J. Warner was under center for the Owls, and he tossed for a score and 2 interceptions on his way to 240 yards. The ground game only mustered 11 total yards. Warner's favorite target was Ahmed Anderson Jr., who posted a 10-117-0 line. Temple comes into this game sitting 127th in points per game, with just 12.7 on average. This is a bit of a misnomer, as the Owls managed just 7 against Miami and Rutgers, 2 step-ups in competition. Against inferior competition, take Norfolk State, for example, the Owls put up 41 points and over 500 total yards of offense. What's hindered the offense has been their inability to move the sticks on third down, sitting 77th in the country, and their lack of success in the red zone. It hasn't helped that starting QB, Warner, has thrown 4 interceptions over 3 games. Of course, Temple's play style under Stan Drayton has been air raid heavy. Temple throws the ball 46 times per game, which is one of the highest rates in football. The ground attack through Jockes Smith hasn't been the most potent, though Smith is averaging 6.4 yards per tote. He was limited to 4 yards on 6 carries against Miami. Tulsa's pass defense is vulnerable, but the lack of ball security from Warner could end drives early here. On the defensive side of the ball, Temple's defense has been allowing upwards of 32 points per game. This has been largely due to the Owls giving up 6.4 yards per play. The ground defense has been suspect, and they allowed 5 players from Miami to break loose on runs over 15 yards. This was on the way to a total allowance of 323 yards on the ground. The tepid ground defense has allowed opposition to move the sticks on third downs at a rate of 42%. They haven't really tightened it up in the red zone, as foes are coming away with 6 on 92% of their trips inside the 20. While Temple hasn't been thrown on too often, they're holding opposing quarterbacks to under a 60% completion rate, but are allowing 8.3 yards per completion. The Owls couldn't really disrupt the passing game, but they got into the backfield 3 times to log tackles for loss. The ability to stop the ground attack will be key for the defense here. The Golden Hurricanes had 3 turnovers, 1 inside the red zone, but they could hold on to the ball when it mattered, scoring a go-ahead touchdown as Taj Gary had his longest rush of the day and made it to the end zone. The defense came away with an interception on their side of the field to thwart Northern Illinois' last-ditch efforts. Tulsa comes into this contest posting a points per game average of just 16.3, which lands them at 115th in the country. The trouble with the offense has been their inability to protect the pill. The Golden Hurricanes are giving the ball up 3 times per game on average, and a red zone fumble nearly proved to be costly in their last game. The Golden Hurricanes have done well to move the sticks and sit 56th in third down conversion. But again, the turnovers and questionable decision-making from Cardell Williams have been costly. This has resulted in Tulsa coming away with a touchdown on just 80% of their red zone trips. Williams appears to move too slowly through his progressions, and while he was facing arguably one of the top defenses in the Mid-American Conference this season in Northern Illinois, he completed under 50% of his throws and turned it over twice. This marked his 2nd straight game with 2 or more interceptions. With this known, it isn't all that surprising that Tulsa runs it on over 60% of their plays, which is 11th in America. With 3.7 yards per tote against Northern Illinois, the Golden Hurricanes performed better than their season benchmark of 3.1, and Tulsa showed some explosiveness as they had 3 rushes of 15 yards or more. Tulsa's defense has been giving up 41 points per game, but this comes off the back of 2 straight games against top 25 opponents, Washington and Oklahoma. Even so, Tulsa showed some of their vulnerabilities against Northern Illinois as position player Justin Lynch was inserted after Rocky Lombardi went out with injury. Lynch was able to exploit the run defense of the Golden Hurricanes as he had runs of 29 and 30 yards, one of which resulted in a touchdown. The air defense answered the call, though. They gave up just one pass of over 15 yards and came away with 2 interceptions, one sealing the game. They'll need to tighten it down on third down as opponents have converted on over 57% of their tries, but inside the 20 Tulsa has done well to slow opposing teams and has given up points on just 75% of their trips allowed. The pass defense will need to continue to shine this week. E.J. Warner has been thrust into a pass-heavy offense, and while he's thrown over 230 yards in each contest, he's eclipsed the 60% completion rate just once. He'll face a tough pass defense in the Golden Hurricanes, who have had a nose for the ball. Tulsa and their run-centric approach should find success here, as they'll not only be playing a softer defense, but a defense that just gave up over 300 yards on the ground. Turnovers have been a bugaboo for Tulsa's offense, but with a step down in defense here, I expect them to hold on to the football here. The Temple Owls are one of the worst offensive teams in the league, and their defense is 118th against the run. In its biggest games against Rutgers and Miami, Temple scored a combined 14 points. The Tulsa Golden Hurricane have won both games they're supposed to win, and their 2 losses came against Washington and Oklahoma, so there's no shame over here. Tulsa is the better team that's at home and battle-tested, so the Tulsa Golden Hurricane to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. On paper, neither of these defenses looks great. However, they've faced far superior competition over the first couple of weeks, and as we enter conference play, the playing field will be much closer to even. Temple has struggled mightily in the red zone, and Tulsa has found ways to get stops. Along with the tough red zone defense, Tulsa's defensive pride has been in defending the pass. With Tulsa showing some explosiveness on the ground, they should be able to move the sticks on their drives and keep the clock rolling. If Temple finds success through the air, it'll be via the short pitch and catch, as Tulsa has done well not giving up the deep ball. Under the projected total is our full game total pick. Middle Tennessee State versus Western Kentucky. It's the conference opener for a pair of teams from Conference USA on the gridiron down in the Bluegrass State. The Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders are on the road as they travel to face the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers Thursday night. Middle Tennessee comes in off a 31-23 home loss to Colorado State in their previous game Saturday, losing outright as a 4-point favorite. Western Kentucky fell 27-24 on the road at Troy in their previous game Saturday, though they covered the line as a 3.5-point underdog. In the all-time series between the schools, the Hilltoppers own a 36-35-1 advantage and have won the last 4 matchups. That includes a 35-17 road victory in the most recent meeting on October 15, 2022. Middle Tennessee has gotten out to a slow start to the season, but they have also played a really tough schedule. Middle Tennessee has losses this season to Alabama, Missouri, and Colorado State. The only win for the Blue Raiders came against Murray State, and that was a dominant victory. They scored 35 points, and that was enough to secure the victory. In the last game against Colorado State, they were competitive, but the defense gave up 31 points, and that led to the defeat. Nicholas Vacciato completed 30 of 41 passes for 279 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. The Blue Raiders are averaging 21 points while their defense is giving up 31 points per game. The offense is ranked 110th while the defense is ranked 108th. The running game for this team hasn't been good enough, and that is going to need to be better here. Western Kentucky won the first 2 games of the season, but they have lost 2 straight games. 2 games ago against Ohio State, Western Kentucky lost 63-10, and in the last game against Troy, they lost 27-24. In the last game against Troy, they were up 7-0, but the defense couldn't hold on, and that led to the defeat. Even though they lost the last game, quarterback Austin Reed had a strong game. Reed completed 23 of his 39 passes for 268 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. Both teams are coming off tough losses and have plenty to clean up. The Blue Raiders put up 430 yards of offense versus Colorado State with 26 first downs and 5.1 yards per play. The 2 turnovers didn't help, however, nor did the 345 passing yards allowed to the Rams. As for Western Kentucky, they were lucky to only fall to Troy by 3 points. The Hilltoppers put up just 20 rush yards, 3 of 10 on third down tries, and 21-01 in time of possession. The Trojans made some key mistakes that kept the game close. This should be a very interesting Conference USA opener, as both both of these schools have large ambitions this year. The Blue Raiders dropped a road contest to a now-ranked Missouri team just 23-19. Most recently, they lost 31-23 to Colorado State, which is a respectable program out of the Mountain West. Considering they were able to keep those games close, I think they'll do the same here with Nicholas Vacciato at the helm. Honestly, they may win outright. I think Vacciato is going to torch this Western Kentucky defense. Even though he's just a sophomore, he has only thrown 2 picks, so we're not seeing the typical youthful mistakes. That's pretty decent when factoring in who they've played. With a season completion percentage at 70.6%, he should pick apart this Hilltopper defense that's ranked 132nd in yards allowed per game with 541 yards per contest. Mid-Tennessee has been tested and Western Kentucky's offense wasn't elite in the last game. Middle Tennessee can run up the score and they are going to find success again in this game. Middle Tennessee has value in this game. I have to roll with Middle Tennessee in this matchup based on who they've played and how close a couple of their losses have been. So the Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Middle Tennessee has split their 4 games in relation to the total this season. The Blue Raiders split their 2 games on the road in relation to the total this season. Middle Tennessee combined with Alabama to put up 63 points to push past the 52.5-point number set at the books in their opener before following up with a combined 42 points in their loss to Missouri to fall short of a 47.5-point number. Western Kentucky has split their 4 games in accordance with the total this season. The Hilltoppers were in a pair of high-scoring affairs at home, though they split those contests as well. Western Kentucky combined with South Florida to score 65 points against a number of 71.5 points in the opener before following that up with a combined 74 points against a number of 63.5 in the game against Houston Christian. I'm expecting this game to see a ton of scoring from Middle Tennessee State. On the flip side, Middle Tennessee State's defense hasn't exactly been the cream of the crop either. They've allowed 37 points per game this year, which is just 115th in the country. Considering we have a senior quarterback in Austin Reed who's playing at home, I think he'll put up plenty of points as well. What's interesting is that the totals for this matchup over the last 2 seasons has sat at 67.5 and 66.5. So, the odds makers have essentially taken a touchdown off of this year's matchup. Finally, it's worth noting that the over is 5-0 the last 5 times that this matchup has been played in Bowling Green. We have 2 trustworthy quarterbacks against lousy defenses here in this one. Let's sit back and enjoy a barn burner to open up Week 5. Look for this one to be a high-octane affair with plenty of offense on both sides. Over the projected total is our full game total pick. Jacksonville State versus Sam Houston State. The Jacksonville State Gamecocks have been playing very well this season as they are 3-1 thus far. They are coming off a game where they were able to win at home against the Eastern Michigan Eagles 21-0 last Saturday. Junior quarterback Logan Smothers had an okay game under center as he finished 9 of 19 for 93 yards with a touchdown pass while also running 18 times for 118 yards and a rushing touchdown. The Sam Houston State Bearcats have not gotten off to the start they were hoping for as they are 0-3 so far this season. They struggled on the road last Saturday against the Houston Cougars as they lost the game 38-7. Senior quarterback Grant Gunnell was under center and he finished 4 of 22 for 100 yards and an interception. The Jacksonville State Gamecocks are doing pretty well on the offensive side of things as they are averaging 26 points on 355 total yards per game. This is a program that loves to run the football as they are running for 231.5 yards per game, which is 8th in the National Collegiate Athletic Association. A big reason why their success on the ground has been the fact they have a great running back in senior Malik Jackson as he has 64 rushing attempts for 376 yards with a pair of rushing touchdowns while also catching 8 passes for 50 yards. If the offense can move the chains with the passing game a bit more, this Gamecocks program could be a legitimate threat going forward. Their defense has been nothing short of outstanding as they are giving up 12 points on 279.8 total yards. They have been applying a ton of pressure as they are inside the top 15 with 14 total sacks and 7 interceptions. It is not like they have one player standing out as no player has more than 2 total sacks or more than 1 interception. This team defense has been incredible and should be able to continue flexing their muscles in this game. The Sam Houston State Bearcats have been one of the worst offensive teams in college football as they are averaging 3 points on 147.7 total yards per game. Their 10 total points is 34 points lower than any team in the nation. Their passing game is the third worst in the sport and last in rushing. They need to figure things out as their leading receiver and rusher are both on the injury report here. Senior quarterback Grant Gunnell started last game for his first action of the season and struggled, so this will be interesting to see if they can move the ball at all. Their defense has been doing well despite the terrible offense, as they are allowing 22 points on 351 total yards per game. They need to figure out how to stop the running attack, as they are giving up 180.7 rushing yards per game, which is the 21st worst in the nation. Sam Houston State is doing this without much pressure or forcing mistakes, as the program has recorded just 2 sacks, 0 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery. They need to force the opposing offense into more rush decisions to make things better. Jacksonville State has covered the spread in 3 of its first 4 games of the regular season and failed to cover the 4th game by just a half point when losing to Coastal Carolina by 14 points as a 13.5-point underdog. Jacksonville State will be without Ron Wiggins, who is the 3rd leading rusher for the Gamecocks with 156 yards, but that should not affect their offense, as they have 2 strong rushers in quarterback Logan Smothers and Malik Jackson. Jacksonville State will use its strong running attack that averages 231.5 yards per game to wear down the Sam Houston State defense, which is weak against the run, allowing 181 yards per game, which is 112th. Sam Houston State will play without its leading rusher Zach Krabick and could play without its leading receiver Ifadai, who is listed as questionable after leaving the last game with an undisclosed injury. The Sam Houston State Bearcats have scored a total of 10 points through 3 games, so expecting them to score much of anything is tough to ask for. The defense for Sam Houston also does not force turnovers, so that is a massive red flag for them to even get into scoring range. The Bearcats have 24 total first downs through 3 games, and injuries to their best offensive weapons does not help the case. The reality for me is that Sam Houston State was a team I was high on coming up from Football Bowl subdivision, but the offensive personnel they have just isn't it. The Bearcats can't score for whatever reason, and as sound as the defense has been more often than not, last I checked, you have to be able to score points to win football games. Jacksonville State hasn't been pretty, but they've been effective when they've had to be. The Bearcats are difficult at this point to bet on, as they score an average of 3 points per game and will be up against an opponent that has the 8th best rushing attack that will mow over the Bearcats' defense while moving up and down the field almost at will. So the Jacksonville State Gamecocks to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. As previously mentioned, Sam Houston State is scoring an average of just 3 points per game, and 3 of the first 4 games the Bearcats have played ended with the point total under. With the exception of allowing 38 points to Houston, the Bearcats allowed just 14 and 13 points in 2 previous games. The total has finished under in each of Jacksonville State's 4 games this season, as the Gamecocks' defense allows an average of only 12 points per game, and the offense generates a below-average 26 points per game. This Jacksonville State program can run the ball extremely well, and the Sam Houston State defense does not do well defending it, so they can essentially chew the clock. The Gamecocks kicker, Alan Karajic, is just 4 of 7 on field goal attempts, including 2 of 5 on kicks 40-plus yards, while Sam Houston's kicker, Colby Sessoms, has only attempted 1 field goal this entire season. Not many plays due to the running game we talked about earlier, and bad kickers equals low-scoring games. The under has hit in all 4 Jacksonville State games this year, as well as in 2 of the previous 3 Sam Houston State games. Under the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed. Subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.